Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to talk to you guys about my opinions and thoughts on the green tea note in fragrances and share some of my favorite scents that have a very predominant green tea note. Now, for the longest time, I've talked about sharing a video describing the different teas in fragrances, how it's used and utilized, and I thought that what I should do is ramp up to that video so that way I have videos that I can reference. So the first one I'm going to do is green tea. So we're going to get into some of my favorite green tea notes. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think about them, my opinion on them, and sharing some of my favorites. So let's get into the video. A very long time ago, I did a very cringe video sharing my favorite tea scents. I'm going to update that video after I do my tea videos, so just bear with me. If you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Kristin. I run this channel called Beauty Meow. I've been doing YouTube for a very long time. YouTube is my hobby. It is not my job. It is a way I connect with other fragrance lovers out there. And I just love to chat, share my love of scent with you guys. If you enjoy connecting with somebody who also loves fragrance, make sure to subscribe to my channel and click the little bell so you can be notified when I have new videos. Now, tea is something that I love. Tea is something that I have a bit of experience with. I've talked about it in the past. I have a bit of experience with tea as a whole. I used to work for Teavana ground floor. I worked for their stores when there was about like 10 of them. So I was a manager. I worked for 3 different stores. I opened one of their stores. So I got a lot of hands-on training back when Teavana actually cared about tea education and quality of tea, and they actually cared about tea rather than just turning it into a cash grab. And I have very real feelings with how the brand turned out, but that's not what this video is about. Now, tea is something very important in fragrance. It's so versatile. It can be utilized in so many different ways. And tea is also something that is not just tea. There is a variety of different teas. You have white tea, you have black tea, you have oolong tea, you have green tea, you have different types of teas. You have different types of black teas, different types of green teas, different types of oolong teas, different types of white teas. You also have herbal teas like rooibos and mate and honeybush and chamomile and linden flower. And you have certain aromatics that could be viewed as tea, like chrysanthemum. And there's so many different ways that these notes can be used to celebrate tea and really shine a beautiful light on it. But I think when most people think about tea and fragrance, they really think about green tea. I think it is the most popular note, it's the most versatile note, and it's the most wearable. Now, as we go into this video, I'm going to be saying my normal stuff. If you hear me use terms like synthetic or chemically, what I'm saying is that means it smells like something you wouldn't want to put on your skin in regards to smelling like Raid or scrubber. Normally, if something smells chemically or synthetic in regards to smelling like something you wouldn't want to put on your skin, I find that to be more of an imbalance with your body chemistry, with the balance of the fragrances. Sometimes certain notes don't balance right and it just smells off. I've had a few fragrances like that. Black pepper specifically on my skin, if it's not balanced correctly, it literally smells like I should just rub it off before I get a chemical burn. It doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the fragrance. In a lot of cases, it's more about a body chemistry thing. I have a variety of different fragrances to share with you guys. Some of these are discontinued, but if you can find them, they're worth checking out. I really just want to share with you guys great and different examples of different green teas. The best example, I think personally, when it comes down to a fragrance that really shines in regards to being a tea scent that smells, and I know people hate this word, photorealistic, as a cup of tea, is Kilian's, sadly discontinued, and I need to find a backup bottle of this, Imperial Tea. What do I mean by photorealistic? I know people hate that word with perfume, but what I love about Kilian's Imperial Tea, this is one of my all-time favorite tea fragrances, and one of the most successful tea fragrances in my opinion, and green tea specifically, is this is a great way that a specific note is utilized and smartly used and utilized, obviously same connotation, to mimic how I like to drink a cup of tea. Now, green tea normally, when you have that note, that composition, that formula, that genre of scent, it's generally a very citrusy, very bright, very uplifting, sunshiny scent. There's something about it that's very fresh, invigorating, and there's also something about it that even though it can be something that you might think is summertime appropriate, there's something about green tea that works in a lot of different environments. I wouldn't say it's super good to wear in winter, and what I mean good to wear is that sometimes cold weather fragrance notes and compositions can get lost. It's not that you can't wear it, it just might not work primarily. But you know, in fall and spring and summer, it is a type of composition and note that works really well across a lot of different environments, hot environments, humid environments, cooler environments, drier environments. It tends to work very, very well. It's not challenging, and what I mean by challenging is that it doesn't smell in a way that if people don't like fragrance, it's not super hard to understand, not too intimidating. It's just very easy, and that's fine. Challenging isn't a bad thing. I always say it's similar to spicy foods. You know, if some people really enjoy a very spicy meal, those are more of the challenging fragrances. It's not bad by any means. There's nothing about it that makes it worse than easier, more crowd-pleasing fragrances. More crowd-pleasing fragrances are more mass appealing. That they're mass appealing for a reason. They're very beautiful. There's something about them that's very complimentary and attractive. And for a lot of different reasons, obviously, that I've listed, generally green tea fragrances are considered to be very crowd-pleasing scents. That doesn't mean they're not beautiful, artistic, and worthy of being something that is coveted, and they're just, I love them and they're fantastic. But what I like about Imperial Tea is that it has this idea of a green tea note, something that's a little bit citrusy, a little bit bright. You have that generally uplifting, revitalizing, energizing kind of personality that this note can have, but it takes this very smart oak moss note. And what that does is it adds a very semi-realistic take on tea that if you overbrew tea just a little tiny bit, it gets bitter. And that's what I mean by this being like a photorealistic type of scent. Not that it smells like tea. I mean, it does and it doesn't. It smells like a perfume. Obviously, it's not going to smell like a cup of tea. But that oak moss in there mimics perfectly how I like to drink my favorite cup of tea, which is actually a jasmine scented green tea. Slightly overbrewed, just by a few seconds. I enjoy the sweet softness of the jasmine scented tea with that little bit of tannic bitterness. I love it. There's something about the bitter flavor profile with the beautiful kind of robust flavor of the green tea and the softness and sweetness of this jasmine just coming together. I love it. And so when I smelled this, it reminded me of that beautiful blend together. So obviously this video is obviously going to be a chatty video, but I'm talking about tea and tea notes and what I like to see. And what I like to see in green tea fragrances, especially ones that are a little bit more thought out, a little bit more, they don't have to be more expensive, but have a little bit more thought out in them, especially with a green tea fragrance, is a little bit more of a complexity, a little bit more of a story being told with very smart decisions like an oak moss note, because it does take this very sunshiny, very bright, energizing note that you can get fantastic, and I mean fantastic fragrances for, like, you can find at TJ Maxx or other discounters for like $10, and it elevates the experience into something really special. And I love that. And so in my opinion, Imperial Tea from Kilian is a great, and I mean a great, just addition to a green tea fragrance collection if you are looking for something that is, again, I know people hate this term, a more photorealistic idea of what a green tea would be. Now, matcha is something that is a green leaf. Generally, it was created with gyokuro leaves, depending on where you get your matcha. It could obviously be used from a variety of different leaves. Now, gyokuro is generally a shaded leaf. I can go into the whole history of it. I don't really need to go into the whole history of it, but shading the green tea leaf, specifically the gyokuro, it obviously makes it more expensive, but what that does for the green tea is it creates more of a savory, umami kind of depth to the flavor. And what I like about that is you might think as savory and umami to be like less sweet, but it adds this really rich, deep sweetness, not like a sugary sweetness, but a sweetness to the tea when you drink it that's absolutely fabulous. I love drinking those teas. They're great. So when I smell matcha or when I see matcha in these teas, these tea fragrances, I expect a specific level of a bit of savoriness, a bit of deep kind of emeraldy green sweetness to the tea when you drink it that's absolutely fabulous. I love drinking those teas. They're great. So when I smell matcha or when I see matcha in these teas, these tea fragrances, I expect a specific level of a bit of savoriness, a bit of deep kind of emeraldy green sweetness. It needs to have that if it's going to say matcha. You're just using matcha as some type of buzzword, why would I say bugword? As some type of buzzword to market your fragrance. I don't think you need to use matcha to basically sell a green tea fragrance. Generally, like I said before, green tea fragrances sell themselves because they smell fantastic. They work for a variety of different reasons, for being fresh, beautiful, and they work again in a variety of different situations, variety of different environments. You really don't have to sell a green tea scent. Again, they sell themselves. But if you're going to utilize matcha, I really think that you need to do it in a way where it is done smartly. These two fragrances, I think, do them very well. The first one I'm not going to get too into because I'm going to be mentioning this in a few different videos, and I had a part to play as a little bit of a creative director with this scent. This is Kiki from House of Matriarch. This was a fragrance I worked on with Lola from Lola Scents. Christy from obviously the House of Matriarch, Christy and Michelle created this fragrance. The three of us in 2021 worked on this fragrance, and we wanted it to be a tea fragrance, but we wanted it to encompass a variety of different things. Lola's love of violet, Christy's just general personality when it came down to her exquisite artistry when it comes to fragrance, and my just general love of tea. And there are 3 different tea notes in here, and one of them is matcha. And the matcha, I think, in here is just perfect and pairs beautifully with the other tea notes in this fragrance that I'm going to mention in other videos, and I'm going to mention those more in different ones. But the matcha note in here really pairs beautifully with the mushroom in the opening, because the mushroom, again, has that kind of earthy umami spiciness that works really well with this beautiful kind of green sweet savoriness that the matcha has. So in the opening with the matcha and the mushroom, it pairs gorgeously with that. Now, Matcha Meditation, this is one of the newest fragrances to my collection from Replica, I find to be really beautiful as well. This has a little bit more realistic matcha note on the skin. It's really beautiful. It's a little bit brighter, but I don't find that to be a bad thing. What I like about this is that it has this unique white chocolate note in there that really kind of helps add a bit of creaminess and not like a lactonic note. I know sometimes when people use creamy, it can be almost like an indolic white floral. It can be like a lactonic milky accord. For me, the white chocolate works with the woods that kind of mimics a matcha latte. So it kind of reminds your brain of something creamy that you might have consumed in the past. And so you're like, this smells creamy. That's how I'm saying it. You can disagree with me. I completely understand. But it's not creamy, it's not a sweet white chocolate, it's the flavor profile of the white chocolate in the background, which tames a little bit of that bitter umami that the matcha has, but it still has a little bit of it in the forefront, and I think it's really, really nice. This is a very pleasant, easy scent to wear, but I do like that it does have a little tiny bit of ingenuity and creativity to still create something that's easy to wear, and I enjoy seeing that in perfumery. So this is a great matcha fragrance that isn't on the realm of something a little bit harder to wear, a little bit too savory, maybe a little bit too bitter, maybe a little bit too umami. Some people don't like to smell savory. People generally prefer to smell sweet. People prefer to smell maybe a little bit more fresh, woody, aromatic. I don't think people want to smell savory. Not too many people want to, but if balanced correctly, you can smell fantastic, and I think this is balanced beautifully. Next three fragrances are what I would consider to be like the gold standard of this is what a green tea fragrance smells like, and they are a variety of different price points. So the cheapest and probably the most iconic is Elizabeth Arden green tea. I love these fragrances. I collect them. I've gone through I don't know how many bottles of this. I love these. So good. And there's something about this fragrance that just is very easy to wear. It has a lot of different notes in the background that make it very easy. Like you'd think that with everything going on, the citruses and the rhubarb and the aromatics, you'd wear it and you think it would be fussy, but it's not. Very easy to wear. Very linear fragrance, even though it has a lot of different components to it that come together to create a very beautiful scent. This is a great fragrance if you are working in a very hot environment and you like to use fragrance to refresh and revitalize. This is a great scent. This is also a wonderful layering fragrance. If you have a variety of different scents in your collection and you want to add a bit of brightness, this works really well too. This is one of my favorite fragrances to wear to bed. I also overspray this one. I just cannot talk enough about this scent. I also like all of the companion products that come with this. It's just, I adore the green tea line. Now, my signature fragrance, as I put this down, my signature fragrance, the one that if you were to think of what I smell like, and I self-describe this, is Bulgari Eau de Verte. Now, this smells, I would say, a little bit more elevated. And what I mean by elevated, it smells a little bit less linear than green tea from Elizabeth Arden. But you do not have to spend more money. You could spend the money on green tea from Elizabeth Arden and still smell beautiful and fantastic. There's absolutely nothing wrong with green tea from Elizabeth Arden. But what I love about Eau de Verte is it's a little bit brighter and it smells a little bit more citrus. Now, a lot of people, when they smell green tea, they just think of something, again, citrusy and bright. But green tea in and of itself isn't really, when you taste it, isn't citrusy. It's actually, again, more green, and depending on how you brew it, it could be slightly bitter, a little bit bitter. Now, I used to love to drink green tea, and I used to like to cut off the rinds of limes and lemons and brew them with my teas. Not like have like the lemon juice in there, but just the fresh rinds. And I like to do that because it would add, again, a little bit of bitterness and just a touch, and I mean a touch of brightness. I found that if the rinds were too dry, it would be too much of a concentrated citrus flavor, and I wanted it more as a kind of aftertaste. What I found is that it would add a nice brightness to a nice hot tea that I really genuinely enjoyed. And what I like about Eau de Verte is that it has that kind of slightly acidic brightness that I enjoyed in cups of green tea. Specifically sencha, I really enjoyed a nice kind of lime, key lime rind was one of my favorites. And that's what I smell with this citrusy brightness. It's less of a kind of a lemon flavor profile and more of a slight juicy acidity. And that kind of elevates the green tea note a little bit more, and I think makes it a little bit more special, and also makes it work as more of a workhorse fragrance in hot and humid weather if you're trying to wear something to help you alleviate living in an environment where it feels like it's 100% humidity and it's 105 degrees outside. So when you want to wear a fragrance to refresh you, that little bit of brightness works really well, and that's why I really prefer to wear Bulgari Eau de Vert. Now, I've had this bottle for a bit. Obviously, I've made a big dent in it, but what you guys don't know is in the past 2 years, I've gone through 4 of the travel sizes of these. They're usually in my bag. So this is one of the fragrances that when I run out of a travel size, I will get it. I haven't been able to get my hands on one in a while. I need to get one, but I wear this one a lot, a lot. That's why it's my signature scent. It is usually always in my bag. Another way that green teas can smell, specifically for a standard green tea scent, close your eyes, smell it, it smells like green tea, is slightly floral. And Asian green tea from Creed, to me, has that slight little floral-esque-ish sort of touch to it. Now, I know that they've kind of revamped and reformulated these guys, and I'll be perfectly honest, paying full retail price for this is dumb. Get it cheap, buy a decant. I do really like this scent a lot, but it is not worth the full retail price point for this bottle. Some Creeds, I will say yes, I enjoy, and I can understand people paying full retail price. Not this guy. But it is a great green tea fragrance. And what I most like about it is it does have that little extra touch of floral. Now, there is something about 2 different ways that green teas normally get presented as flavored that I find to be very smart, but definitely impact the tea portion of the drink that I find perfectly balanced in scents, and that is fruits and florals. So most of the time when you have floral green tea fragrances, the florals pair and mesh and meld as more of an equal with the tea. So what you're tasting is the flowers and the tea together. So you, like jasmine is probably the most popular and my most favorite. Really pairs gorgeously with the green tea notes. They come together in a beautiful unison. It's something very gorgeous and very delicious. When you have fruits, it really doesn't even matter on the fruits. What those fruits do is that they kind of lose some of the nuances and some of the beauty of the tea. Now, if you don't like the taste of tea and you want the benefits of tea, then having fruits is great, especially if you like fruits, because you'll get a lot of the health properties of the fruits, and they'll kind of blanket over some of the flavors of the green teas if you don't enjoy it. So it's actually very smart. When you have fruits in green tea fragrances, I find that they overpower the green tea scent, and that's why there's not too many fruity fragrances in regards to this list, because I find it to be a little too much. Now, Elizabeth Arden green tea does have a lot of great other additions, other flankers. You have nectarine blossom, you have yuzu, which is fantastic. Cucumber, I love. It's one of my favorites to wear to bed. I know that they just came out with a new one every year. Fig is a fantastic, I know I just touched this, I'm sorry. Fig is a fantastic one. And I find that the way that they blend and meld and marry their fruits, their aromatics, their kind of green tea with whatever flavor of the month or year it is, they do a really good job, and it's very affordable, so that's a nice way to do it. But there are other brands that do florals and fruits in different ways that I enjoy. But what I like about Creed's Asian green tea is it's more of a sophisticated, slightly more mature floral. It smells a little bit bright on the skin, but there is a bit of a soapiness, but there's also a bit of a softness and a roundness to this fragrance too, just a little bit, and I enjoy that. So if you're looking for a less bright version of what I would consider to be stereotypical standard green tea fragrance. Again, don't pay full retail price for this, but if you can track down a cheap bottle of it, like through a discounter or gray market site, or if somebody's selling off a bottle of it or a decant, this is worth checking out. But again, don't pay full retail. Now, if I had to think about an expensive bottle of perfume that is worth the price point, that is super high end, aside from Kilian's Imperial Tea, even though that has been discontinued. I'm not going to go super into this, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Eau de Memo from Memo Paris. This is one of the fragrances that was like a love at first sniff. Absolutely adore this fragrance. Gorgeous, it's bright, it's tart, it has the right amount of fruit in here, but it doesn't negate the tea. It actually adds a tartness, which adds a very refreshing crispness to this scent. Absolutely gorgeous. So if I had to think of one fragrance that you could actually purchase at this time that is worth full retail price, even though you can still find deals on it, Eau de Memo from Memo Paris is a fantastic. Last but not least, I'm going to share 3 fragrances that have a fantastic green tea note, but the green tea note isn't center stage. And one's a watery floral, one's kind of a mix between fruits and florals, and one's one that I wear a lot and a lot of people love, but not too many consider to have a major green tea note. So one that is the watery floral is Lotus the Vert from Gallimard. I'm not sure if you can still purchase this. I don't see many people talking about Gallimard. This is actually a fantastic fragrance. I find this scent to be really nice. It has a slight sourness to it. Again, not a sourness in a way where it smells rancid or off-putting, more of a flavor profile. And the lotus in here is beautiful and watery. It's very well balanced and it smells so nice on the skin. This is great if some people think that some green tea fragrances might smell a little bit more feminine, again, because sometimes they can be paired with too many florals or fruits. If you're looking for something a little bit more shared, this is really great. Again, the lotus is more of a watery floral, but that little tiny bit of sourness in here I find works really well to kind of anchor it as more of a shared scent. The green tea in this is still nice and bright. It's again one of those more energizing, effervescent green tea fragrances, something very easy to understand, something you've smelled before, but again, at the same time, it's paired really nicely with other florals in here, so I really enjoy it. Now, this is something that I find to be very beautiful. I love the fact that this house is actually moving in this direction, even though I'm unsure of what is exactly happening with this house, and you'll know what house I'm talking about when I show you. And it's Maison Lancôme, and we're talking about Jasmine Dew. The reason why I describe this as a slightly more mature fragrance has to do with the fact that it's slightly powdery. It has this very soft blanket of powder, but it has this beautiful peach. And when I reviewed this fragrance, I said the peach isn't like an edible peach. It doesn't smell like a fruit that you'd eat, not like a peach that you'd bite into, but something peach scented, like body lotion or something perfumed with peach. And I like that. Sometimes you want the edible version. If this was more of a edible peach, I would almost say this was more of a youthful fragrance. But I actually enjoy the fact that this smells a little bit more mature and elegant and sophisticated. And I like the fact that this is something different from the house. The green tea in this does act as a nice, clean, fresh blanket in the background. But again, I really think that the florals and the fruit stand out more on this scent personally the longer that you wear it. But this is a great idea of how like fruits and florals and green tea can come together to create something really, really beautiful. And last and certainly not least is a fragrance that a lot of people really love and I think is a staple in a lot of people's collections, and it's Herba Frasca from Gerlan. Now, most people think of the herbs in here, and this is where, again, the green tea acts as something to kind of elevate the herbs and the brightness and a little bit of the bitterness that this fragrance has. And again, when I'm talking about the bitterness, I'm not talking about the bitterness of like a negativity. Let's say like the mint, like you have like a mint ice cream and then you have a mint leaf. If you take a bite of mint ice cream, it's going to be sweet and creamy and cold. But if you were to bite a mint leaf, you're going to taste that bitter greenness, but you're still going to get the flavor of mint. That's what I'm talking about when I say bitter. It's not a negative thing. It's a completely different flavor, completely different profile in regards to how it smells. And that's why this is such a beautiful fragrance, because again, it's a fantastic addition to your wardrobe if you want to layer and blend, and just wearing something on its own that's bright and revitalizing and just really gorgeous. Herba Frasca is fantastic. And what the green tea does is it works to kind of help these beautiful aromatics work better. I wouldn't say this is a green tea scent, but I would say without the green tea, this fragrance wouldn't be as good as it is. So those are examples of scents that have a very solid green tea note that work really well to create fantastic scents. I know this video is on the longer side, and guess what, guys? I'm done talking. But I wanted to kind of finish off this video by kind of letting you guys know about my initial thoughts about tea, my ending thoughts about tea, and why I love it so much. So my initial thoughts about green tea and fragrance is that it is very important. I find that it is a very useful, versatile note in regards to a composition, because it has a brightness to it, because it has nuances that can be fresh, it can be semi-savory, it can be bitter, it can be green. It can be used to elevate and help balance compositions even if you don't smell it. So as a note in perfumery, I find it to be very, very important. But as its own standalone fragrance, I get so excited when it is on display, especially when it is used in a way where it is smartly done to create something unique and special. I like the more, again, crowd-pleasing mainstream green tea fragrances. And again, when I say mainstream and crowd-pleasing, I'm not using those as derogatory or negative terms. There is a reason why mainstream is mainstream. A lot of people love them because by design, they smell good. They're beautiful. If you want a lot of compliments, if that's important to you, generally you're going to get more compliments with mainstream fragrances. Just if that's important to you. For some people, it's very important. They don't want to be, the type of person that's, oh, I don't like the way you smell, you're wearing too much perfume, get away. They want to be the type of person which is like, I love what you're smelling. What are you wearing? You smell gorgeous. Generally, mainstream crowd-pleasing scents are going to elicit those types of, interactions, and especially fresh, light green tea fragrances are great for that because they're not too challenging. And challenging, to me, again, isn't a negative term either. It has to do with notes that are maybe unfamiliar. Again, going back to the spicy analogy, not everybody can handle spicy food. That doesn't mean that spicy food is bad. So when I say something's challenging, I'm generally talking about more of a spicy note. So let's look at powder and iris, for example. I find powdery notes to be challenging for a lot of people. Does that mean powdery notes are not beautiful? No, just not everybody is going to like a very powdery fragrance. So that's kind of like what I mean by something that might be a little bit more challenging. Doesn't mean that the note is bad. Doesn't mean that the fragrance is bad. It doesn't mean that it smells bad. It just means some notes are a little bit more palatable for a wider audience. But that doesn't mean that you liking them means that you have bad taste, or that people not liking them means that they have bad taste. But green tea fragrances by design are generally more mass appealing, more crowd pleasing, more mainstream, because they're just beautiful and they work really well. And when you get these green tea fragrances that really celebrate all the positivities, the brightness, the freshness, the nice invigorating sunshininess, I know people hate that term too, but at the same time have a beautiful, unique balance between the nuances that green tea has, maybe celebrating the greenness, celebrating the acidity, celebrating the marriage between how green tea can really balance out fruits and florals, or using special notes to kind of mimic a more realistic experience that you would have with a cup of green tea. I think that green tea can really shine as a unique and almost very artistic take on perfumery, but at the same time isn't challenging, so a lot of people can really enjoy and experience the artistry, I can say words, and creativity. I think sometimes with some of these more artistic, avant-garde, creative, olfactive experiences, they can use notes or they can be a little too challenging for some people, and that's totally okay. But I like seeing the types of creativity that a lot more people can enjoy. And I see a lot of that being done with mostly green tea fragrances. But again, I'm just one person. Just because I only see it in green tea, I'm also looking for it. So I'm usually looking for green tea. So again, just because I see it a specific way doesn't mean that's actually how it's happening. But I did want to talk to you guys about green tea and share some great scents with you. So we are ending the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a longer one, but I did want to sit and chat with you guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I would love to know what fragrances that have a primarily green tea note that you guys love. Do you agree with my choices? Do you agree with my opinion? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments section below. I will obviously be doing videos in the coming weeks doing white tea, black tea, oolong tea, and herbal tea. So look forward to those. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.